Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to Common Hall. At this time of year, as many of you know, we do come together to witness a number of ceremonies and awards in the presence of the sheriffs of the City of London and other eminent guests. Despite planning a physical event and then planning a reduced and socially distanced event, lockdown 2 has prevented us from coming together. But we do have a full virtual programme. We have planned proceedings a little differently this year to maximise each ceremony and award presentation. These will be recorded and can be seen in part or full at a time and place of your choosing. We will begin shortly with the court meeting with an update on the company. We will also hear from Claire Palmer, the chairman of the Charitable Trust. We will then follow on with freedom and livery ceremonies and then close the court meeting. Common Hall then resumes later with the award ceremonies. So may I call this court meeting to order, this the 66th court meeting on the 12th of November 2020. And may I ask you all to stand please for the prayer and loyal declaration. We pray for God's help in keeping us focused in our deliberations and for guidance as we make our decisions. Amen. Amen. The Loyal Declaration. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, may her devotion to duty be an example to us in our deliberations. Thank you. And please be seated. So may I begin by saying how absolutely delighted I was to be elected as the Master in our 21st year. A great opportunity for me to celebrate that birthday again, but importantly to the company. Looking forward to a full year of events, pageantry and civic ceremony. And I say that tongue-in-cheek because who could have guessed at the start of this year what we were facing? Despite the various stages of lockdown, I have been able to experience some physical events, and that includes the installation ceremonies at Drapers Hall, and an incredible visit to one of our affiliates at RAF Marham. There have been also some great Zoom highlights, such as having tea with the Lord Mayor and the sheriffs. There's always a regular catch-up with other livery masters, and that's usually fun. And very useful to hear what else is going on. And most recently as a guest at a Freedom of the City ceremony with fabulous Murray Craig from the Chamberlain's office. And just a reminder that if you haven't yet exercised your right to be a freeman of the City of London, please consider as it's part of your journey to livery, and an absolutely great experience to take virtually. So for me, I love the livery. I love the traditions of the City of London, and like you all, I miss the events. But there are moments that help me accept that for now, our lives have to change, and that for many of us, we do remain very fortunate. In this week of remembrance, like you, I've stopped to consider our armed forces and their families, the self-sacrifice of so many who live with the legacy of conflict in the past, and those who currently serve on the front line. We have all been touched by people that have suffered in this pandemic, perhaps physically or mentally, families affected through restrictions, students struggling with separation or online learning. Certainly some of the parents have been struggling with the online learning. But we should be proud that members of this company have continued helping those less fortunate than themselves, looking after those that have been isolated and those that feel vulnerable. So thank you for what you have done and for what all of us will continue to be doing in the coming months. We have raised money in this difficult period. The spring dance in February was a huge success, and again with the support of our sponsors and the generosity of members, we raised vast amounts for several charities. An auction organised recently by the Security Institute raised over £7,500 for the Security Benevolent Fund, and we in the company continue to look for fundraising opportunities. The company undoubtedly faces a difficult year ahead with reduced events, and so I ask you all to follow and support the future activities of your company. Company business has continued as usual. In some areas, we have doubled online meetings. We quickly developed a virtual capability at the start of the first lockdown that was used for the webinars delivered by our young members, and we still use this for court and committee meetings. We have adapted our freedom and livery ceremonies so that they can be delivered via the company Zoom account, and including today, we will have completed 25 freedom and 12 livery ceremonies since July. We have presented awards to our service affiliates through virtual platforms, and the company will hold a special court meeting on the 26th of November to celebrate apprentice enrolments and graduation ceremonies, again virtually. A COVID working group with representation from many committees was created. This group reviews company activities and reports to court with proposals that are carefully considered around government guidelines and restrictions at each point in time. Agility and resilience is the common language here. Plans have to be consistently changed from physical to virtual to hybrid models of reduced and socially distanced gatherings. The importance of personal safety and protecting the moral integrity of your company is paramount. The new website now sits on a platform that offers easy access. This is being reviewed with a team of young volunteers working with long-term members of the company who are sharing their wealth of information and upholding our important traditions. We are building on our communications capability. This remains part of marketing and fundraising, and each year the immediate past master will assume the role as chair of that communications subcommittee. The company really does rely on individuals to deliver in these key roles. These are volunteers, ordinary people that are really delivering extraordinary results. We look to constantly improve our resilience and increase our capability to deal with the current challenges related to COVID, but also to prepare for the new decade and the future digital development of our company. To achieve this, we need volunteers, we need more people, we need your help. So please do step forward, email the clerk or call me directly if you can volunteer just a few hours each month in support of your company. As announced at the annual dinner last year, our clerk, Tricia Boswell, has asked to take a reduced part-time role as deputy clerk from the 1st of January next year. I'm really delighted that Tricia has decided to remain with the company in this role. Her knowledge of our company, the city and livery is an asset and will really support the transition of the incoming clerk. Thank you, Tricia, for all your hard work and commitment. These past months have been difficult with constant change, increased activity and demands, particularly mine. Adrian Harper will start on the 1st of December next month as clerk designate, and from the 1st of January 2021 as the full-time clerk of the company. Many of you have already met Adrian, as she has already invested her time to get to know the officers and committee chairs in advance of her starting. I know that you will all welcome and support Adrian, and I hope that you will meet her in due course. We are planning for a virtual Christmas party on December 11th. Please save the date from 7 p.m. This is being sponsored by Amberstone, and we are really most grateful for their support. There will be an auction, raffle, an opportunity to win prizes, and of course catch up with other members. And if we raise enough money, I will not sing to you. The Founders Service remains in the diary for the 18th of February next year, and we are planning this security lecture in March. There is still huge uncertainty of what we face next year. We may be in a better place with the new vaccine, and we have some advantage from lessons learned from the past 6 months that will help plan the next 6. Lastly, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the IPM, Mike Barley, all the wardens, the committee chairs, and every single person who has stepped up to volunteer and who work so diligent for your company. Thank you all. Over to you, Tricia.
Thank you, Master. Now we have A message from the Chair of Trustees, Claire Palmer. Unfortunately, she's not able to be with us in person on the call, but she has actually recorded a little piece for us. So, Frederick, could we start the recording, please?
The world as we know it, as at 12th of November 2020, is very different from that at Common Hall in 2019. At the time of this report, the UK is back in lockdown as a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic. This has therefore been a year of significant change for everyone. It has also been a year of change for the Charitable Trust, with a new chairman, deputy chairman, and 3 new trustees who commenced their role in April 2020, Ashley, Joseph, and Kate. I took over as chairman on the 30th of January 2020 from Jeremy Batchelor at the conclusion of our meeting that day. Perhaps I should have had an indication of what lay ahead when that meeting finished abruptly due to a fire alarm, although thankfully just as we were finishing up. Since then, we have not been able to meet as a trust in person, and all trust meetings have taken place remotely. Sorry I cannot be with you live today, but my inquiry is finally underway and I will be in person at the Amber Hotel in Marble Arch. Today I want to talk about 4 things. Firstly, thank yous. Secondly, how the Trust has spent the money, what have we supported? Thirdly, where our money comes from. And fourthly, what you can do to help. So, thank yous. I'd like to start by thanking Tricia, our clerk, for her hard work in supporting the Trust at meetings and a huge amount that she does behind the scenes. To Jane Knights, who helps prepare the accounts and is an absolute star, answering many questions patiently as I've got into my new role. To those who've gone before, to Jeremy for his role as chairman from 2017 to January this year, for his diligence, sense of fairness and public service, as well as his good humour, well, some of the time. To Roy Penrose, Nigel Cherton, Barry Stewart for their service as trustees and the huge amount of work they did for the Trust. To my Deputy Chairman Crawford, including his work particularly on the SBF. To all the trustees for their hard work, adaptability and kindness which comes through in spades when seeing their thoughtful consideration of applications. You make my job so much easier than it would otherwise be. Thank you also to Mike Barley, the immediate past master, and this year's master for their support of the Trust, both in their roles of ex officio trustee, but also as friends and confidants in relation to the roles I perform. For a fuller summary of our activities in the last financial year, I commend the Charitable Trust accounts to you, which are published online and include much more detail. But in summary, where does the Trust money go? How do we as trustees spend the money that is entrusted to us? I'd like to talk about the projects we've supported in the last 12 months. But firstly, it's important to note that with the new chairman and many new trustees, this has been a good year to start a full review of the projects we've supported to date and ensure they meet the objectives of the Trust going forward and continue to provide value for money. It has also provided an opportunity to consider new initiatives, some of which have already been approved. The Trust, of course, though, remains open to suggestions from any member, whether you're new or have been here since the company's inception 21 years ago. Please do just get in touch. There are 4 main categories where the money goes: projects, education, LOOF bursary, and the SBF. Taking each in turn. In the last year, some examples of projects supported include the Build Up Foundation, which delivers construction projects in communities facing intense deprivation, to which we donated £1,600. £1,000 to the London Air Ambulance, who continue to deliver emergency services in the most challenging of circumstances. The Lord Mayor's Fund. A donation of £2,750 was made to PTSD Resolution, a charity providing mental health support to armed force veterans. The donation was doubled due to the match funding of the Big Give. The Trust also continues to support Friendship Works, a charity providing mentoring and support to vulnerable children with complex needs, including domestic abuse, mental health issues, and parents with drug and alcohol issues. And also this year, the trustees agreed to support a new initiative, Secure Futures, which will provide work experience and mentoring to children eligible for free school meals and give them a grounding in the security industry. A donation of £3,000 will support 2 children in that project. Secondly, education. It remains an important area of work of the Trust, supporting both the Harris Garrard Academy in Bexley and the Reed School Foundation. At Reed School, the Trust continues to support the Foundationer scheme, providing scholarship funding for pupils who have lost one or more of their parents. And we've supported one girl whose funding will end this year as she finishes her academic school life. The Harris Garrard Academy in South East London remains an important priority, with support coming via the Endeavour Award for Year 13 students who are going on to tertiary education and funding for extracurricular activities such as cadet groups. I'd like to record the Trust's thanks to Roy Penrose. He was the trustee with the responsibility for education until the completion of his term. Steve Marshall has taken over responsibility, having shadowed Roy for some time, and he is ably assisted by Court Assistant, the Honourable Simon Imbert. Thank you to all of them. Thirdly, the Purleaf Travel Bursary Fund. Thanks to a generous donation, this fund is run through the Trust and supports apprentices in travelling to company events. Applications are limited to date, given the COVID restrictions. And last, but by no means least, the SBF, the Security Benevolent Fund. This continues to be one of the busiest areas of the Trust's work, and I am particularly indebted to Crawford Robinson, who works tirelessly to administer the applications to this reserve fund as they come in. He is now assisted by a second trustee, James Brown, and I'm also grateful to him for stepping up to assist with this important role. Applications to this fund, as many of you will know, are received from individuals in the security sector who find themselves in hardship or in need. Each one has to be researched and compared with the Trust funding criteria before a decision is made. This is where we see the financial uncertainty of the current times impacting the everyday lives of those just managing, and applications to this fund show no sign of reducing. The Trust has worked hard to ensure that members are reminded of the SBF and encouraged to ensure that their employees and colleagues are aware of the resource. Members of the Worshipful Company have been encouraged to highlight any worthy causes for the Trust consideration, and we encourage that, either supporting the SBF or other projects. And then just one note about a potential future project about which you'll hear me more in due course. We're looking at setting up a COVID fund. You will have read that those in the security sector, particularly frontline security, have been particularly affected by COVID. We're looking at the question whether we could develop a separate fund to support those affected in the industry, whether through losing their job, financial difficulties, health issues for themselves or their wider family. This project is being led by trustee Ashley Fernandez, and the aim is that the Trust will put forward some money and raise more money from industry. Please do look out for further announcements and spread the word when it becomes more official. So thirdly, where does the money come from? As at the end of October 2020, the value of the charitable trust stood at approximately £955,000. Some of you may well think, if you have nearly £1 million, why do you need more from us? Why don't you support more projects or spend more money? Well, let's look at where the money comes from first of all. Firstly, from membership and freedoms. Secondly, from fundraising events, the Spring Dance and the City of London Commissioner Dinner. The latter hasn't been able to take place this year due to COVID, and so we're unable to raise funds in that way. At this point, I would like to say a particular mention and thanks to those members, sponsors and guests who attended the Spring Dance organised by past Master Peter French and his team. Donations on the night were in excess of £16,000 plus gift aid, with an additional sum of nearly £5,000 being donated directly to the Trust Reserve Fund for the Worshipful Company of Hackney Carriage Drivers Magical Taxi Tour. This is usually an annual event seeing over 200 children with a range of chronic debilitating illnesses taken on the trip of a lifetime. Sadly, due to COVID, it hasn't been able to happen this year, but the funds raised will go to supporting the next taxi tour, and it is hoped that will run next year. Thank you also to Peter for encouraging the Outstanding Security Performance Awards 2020 to have the SBF as its charity of the dinner, at which £2,865 was raised, and also recently to the Security Institute Conference. I hope I've got that right, who again had an auction in relation to the SBF. So thirdly, the money comes from where possible, any balance of money from the company. Due to COVID, that's not been possible this year, which we completely understand, and it is right that the company invests in itself as a company and enables support for its members. And actually, most importantly, our income comes from growth on investments. Like many things in this world, more money leads to more money. So it is important that we have a substantial pot from which we can generate income and from which we can then, from that income, and if necessary from capital, support the projects that come to us. Due to trust rules, the trust can only raise money to capital until 2021. After that, it can only go into the capital pot if the person donating the money expressly says so. Thankfully, we've not yet had to say no to a worthy project, and I can reassure you that all of the money donated is well spent and well received. So finally, what can you do? Well, again, there's three things. Firstly, let us know of worthy causes that need our support. Signpost the SBF, raise awareness of the COVID fund when it launches, particularly in the man guarding industry, and tell us of other projects that need supporting. Secondly, help us raise money so that we can continue the good work for many years to come. Donate to the trust and say as capital if you're asked, so we can consider bigger projects in the future without depleting resources that generate our income. Keep signing up members to the company and encourage people to take freedom. And thanks to all of those of you who have joined today and those of you receiving your freedom this evening. Congratulations and thank you from the Trust. Set up a direct debit to the charitable trust, whether it's £50 a month or £50 a year, or some smaller or greater sum. We're very grateful to those of you that have done that since I raised this at this meeting last year, and we encourage many more of you to think of doing so if your resources allow. And also, perhaps think about a bequest to the Trust in your will, and we can help with this if that is necessary. So, letting us know about worthy causes, helping us raise money, but also think about applying to be a trustee when we next advertise. It's one of the best jobs in the company. Thank you to everyone who has supported the Trust this year, and I look forward to working with all of you in the years to come. I hope that the rest of the court meeting goes well, and I look forward to joining you remotely for the freedoms later on this evening. Thank you.
Master, can I now ask you to turn your attention to the freedom ceremonies? I believe we have everybody in place now who is taking freedom. Master, over to you.
Thank you, Tricia. And again, a quick note about muting devices. Unless you're actually part of the ceremony going forward, if you can keep your devices muted, that really does help any potential feedback. Thank you. Today we have 12 applicants for admission to the freedom of this worshipful company. I will ask the clerk to read out their names and confirm that they are approved by the court.
Thank you, Master. We have today Mr. Chris Antonio, Mr. Piers Brown, Mr. Chris Duncan, Ms. Cher Lee Arles Thomas, Mr. Robert Gunson, Mr. Simon Harris, Mr. Mababul Islam, Mr. Ian Kilsby, Ms. Madeline Moore, Mr. Glenn Schoen, Ms. Vicky Vidler, and Mr. Jeff Waddles.
Thank you, Tricia. Is it the wish of the court to recognise these members who are seeking freedom of this worshipful company?
It is.
It is. It is.
Master, wardens, and members of the court, I confirm that those seeking to be admitted as freemen of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals are present on this video conference. Is it your wish, Master, that the Junior Warden addresses the applicants?
It is.
You have been summoned here today to be admitted as freemen of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and on behalf of the Master, Wardens, and members of the Court, I extend a warm welcome to each of you. Being admitted into this Worshipful Company as a freeman is not something you should undertake lightly, as the honour of admission carries certain responsibilities, which you are required to swear to observe. There are 3 stages of progression for our members. The first stage you have already completed, which was the consideration of your application by our membership committee and their subsequent recommendation to the Master, Warden and members of the Court of your suitability to become a member of this company. The second stage is admission as a freeman of the Worshipful Company, or as it was referred to in earlier times, being made free of the company. And it is for this stage that we are assembled today. Although this is an important stage in your progress within our company, you should regard this as a probationary period pending the most important and final stage of membership. The final stage is that of being admitted to the full livery. To achieve this, you must first complete the procedures of the Chamberlain's Court to obtain the freedom of the City of London. Then you may return to be admitted to the full livery, which gives you the rights and responsibilities bestowed under the ancient traditions and statutes of the City of London. I will now draw your attention to the clerk.
Thank you, Junior Warden. I will now call upon each of you in turn to read your Freedom Declaration, which hopefully you do have your copy of in front of you, unless you've actually memorised it. Could I please ask Chris Antonio to come forward, and please unmute your device, Chris. Would you like to go ahead?
I, Chris Antonio, do solemnly and sincerely swear to be true to our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and lawful successors. I will be faithful and obedient to the Master and Wardens of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and observe and respect all the lawful commands and laudable acts of the company. I pledge to pay the Worshipful Company's fines and quarterage charges when they are due, as well as all other charges that may be deemed payable by the freemen of the company. I will support and attend all meetings and events and gatherings of the company to which I may be summoned, unless prevented by sickness or reasonable cause. I will conduct myself in all matters pertaining to our Worshipful Company in a manner that will ultimately please the Master and Wardens to summon me at some future date to be admitted to the livery.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Can I ask you to hold up your freedom certificate, please? Thank you. Chris Antonio, you are admitted to the freedom of this Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Master. Thank you, Chris. Could I now please call on Piers Brown to come forward and make his declaration? And please unmute your device, Piers. Thank you.
I, Piers Edward Brown, do solemnly and sincerely swear to be true to our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and lawful successors. I will be faithful and obedient to the Master and Wardens of the Worshipful Company, Security Professionals, and observe and respect all the laws, lawful commands and laudable acts of the company. I pledge to pay the Worshipful Company's fines and quarterage charges when they are due, as well as all other charges that may be deemed payable by freemen of the company. I will support and attend all meetings and events and gatherings of the company to which I may be summoned, unless prevented by sickness or reasonable cause. I will conduct myself in all matters pertaining to the Worshipful Company in a manner that will ultimately please the Master and Wardens to summon me at some future date to be admitted to the livery.
Thank you, Piers. May I ask you to hold up your freedom certificate? Thank you. Piers Brown, you are admitted to the freedom of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Master. Thank you, Piers. Could I now call Chris Duncan forward, please? And if you could unmute your device, please.
I, Chris Duncan, do solemnly and sincerely swear to be true to our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and lawful successors. I will be faithful and obedient to the Master and Wardens of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and observe and respect all the lawful commands and laudable acts of the Company. I pledge to pay the Worshipful Company's fines and quarterage charges when they are due, as well as all other charges that may be deemed payable by a freeman of the Company. I will support and attend all meetings and events and gatherings of the Company to which I may be summoned, unless prevented by sickness or reasonable cause. I will conduct myself in all matters pertaining to our Worshipful Company in a manner that will ultimately please the Master and Wardens to summon me at some future date to be admitted to the livery.
Thank you, Chris. Again, may I ask you to hold up your freedom certificate, please? Wonderful. Chris Duncan, you are admitted to the freedom of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. Congratulations.
Thank you, Master. Thank you, Chris. Could I now call upon Cher Isles Thomas to come forward and make her declaration? Thank you, Cher.
I, Shirley Isles Thomas, do solemnly and sincerely swear to be true to our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and lawful successors. I will be faithful and obedient to the Master and the Wardens of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and observe and respect the lawful commands and laudable acts of the Company. I pledge to pay the Worshipful Company's fines and quarterage charges when they are due, as well as all other charges that may be deemed payable by freemen of the Company. I will support and attend all meetings and events and gatherings of the Company to which I may be summoned, unless prevented by sickness or reasonable cause. I will conduct myself in all matters pertaining to the Worshipful Company in a manner that will ultimately please the Master and the Wardens to summon me at some future date to be admitted to the livery.
Well done, Shirley. Can I please ask you to hold up your freedom certificate? Great. Shirley Isles Thomas, you are admitted to the freedom of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Master. Thank you, Shirley. Could I now call upon Robert Gunson to come forward and make his declaration, please, and unmute your device, Chris. Sorry, Robert. Do we have, Robert was here earlier.
May I suggest we move on to Simon and then perhaps
Yeah,
come back
certainly.
to Robert?
Yes, it may be that his device has just sort of dropped out. Could I please ask Simon Harris to come forward and make his declaration?
And good afternoon, everyone. I, Simon Harris, do solemnly and sincerely swear to be true to our Sovereign Lady Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and lawful successors. I will be faithful and obedient to the Master and Wardens of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and observe and respect all the lawful commands and laudable acts of the Company. I pledge to pay the Worshipful Company's fines and quarterage charges when they are due, as well as all other charges that may be deemed payable by freemen of the Company. I will support and attend all meetings and events and gatherings of the Company to which I may be summoned, unless prevented by sickness or reasonable cause. I will conduct myself in all matters pertaining to our Worshipful Company in a manner that will ultimately please the Master and Wardens to summon me at some future date to be admitted to the livery.
Thank you, Simon. May I ask you to hold up your certificate?
So we need some imagination here to nip to the office, and I've forgotten it. So we can edit this later. But
that's fine. Congratulations. Simon Harris, you are admitted to the freedom of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. Thank you.
Thank you, Master, and thank you, Simon. May I now call on Mahbubul Islam, please, to come forward and make his declaration.
I, Mahbubul Islam, do solemnly and sincerely swear to be true to our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and lawful successors. I will be faithful and obedient to the Master and Wardens of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals and observe and respect all lawful commands and laudable acts of the company. I pledge to pay the Worshipful Company's fines and quarterly charges when they're due, as well as all other charges that may be deemed payable by freemen of the company. I will support and attend all meetings and events and gatherings of the company to which I may be summoned, unless prevented by sickness or reasonable cause. I will conduct myself in all matters pertaining to our worshipful company in a manner that will ultimately please the Master and Warden to summon me at some future date to be admitted to the livery.
Thank you very much. May I ask you to hold up your freedom certificate? That's great. Mahbubul Islam, you are admitted to the freedom of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Master. I see that Robert Gunson is back with us. I think you disappeared for a while, Robert, there. Could we go back to Robert Gunson, please, and ask him to come forward and make his declaration? Thank you.
I, Robert Gunson, do solemnly and sincerely swear to be true to our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and lawful successors. I will be faithful and obedient to the Master and Wardens of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and observe and respect all the lawful commands and laudable acts of the company. I pledge to pay the Worshipful Company's fines and quarterage charges when they are due, as well as all other charges that may be deemed payable by freedom of the company. I will support and attend all meetings and events and gatherings of the company to which I may be summoned, unless prevented by sickness or reasonable cause. I will conduct myself in all matters pertaining to our worshipful company in a manner that will ultimately please the Master and Wardens to summon me at some future date to be admitted to the livery.
Thank you, Rob. Can you please hold up your freedom certificate? Marvellous. Robert Gunson, you are admitted to the freedom of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. Well done.
Thank you, Master, and thank you, Robert. Could I now call upon Ian Kilsby to come forward and make his declaration, please?
I, Ian Kilsby, do solemnly and sincerely swear to be true to our Sovereign Lady Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and lawful successors. I will be faithful and obedient to the Master and the Wardens of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and observe and respect all the lawful commands and laudable acts of the company. I will pledge to pay the Worshipful Company's fines and quarterage charges when they are due, as well as all other charges that may be deemed payable by the freemen of the company. I will support and attend all meetings and events and gatherings of the company to which I may be summoned, unless prevented by sickness or reasonable cause. I will conduct myself in all manners pertaining to the Worshipful Company in a manner that will ultimately please the Master and Wardens to summon me at some future date to be admitted to the livery.
Thank you, Ian. Do you have your freedom certificate with you? You could please hold that up. Ian Kilsby, you are admitted to the freedom of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. Congratulations.
Many thanks.
And it's good to see you.
Thank you, Master. Thank you, Ian. Could I now call upon Madeline Moore to come forward, please, and make her freedom declaration?
I, Madeline Moore, do solemnly and sincerely swear to be true to our Sovereign Lady Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and lawful successors. I will be faithful and obedient to the Master and Wardens of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and observe and respect all the lawful commands and laudable acts of the company. I pledge to pay the worshipful company's fines and quarterage charges when they are due, as well as all other charges that may be deemed payable by freemen of the company. I will support and attend all meetings and events and gatherings of the company to which I may be summoned unless prevented by sickness or reasonable cause. I will conduct myself in all matters pertaining to our worshipful company in a manner that will ultimately please the Master and Wardens to summon me at some future date to be admitted to the livery.
Thank you, Madeline. Can I ask you please to hold up your freedom certificate?
I'm currently not in the UK, but I can confirm that it is in the UK at my home address.
That's fine. We have a bit of stylish license. Madeline Moore, you are admitted to the freedom of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Master. Thank you very much, Madeline. Can I now call upon Glenn Sharon to come forward, please, and make his freedom declaration?
I, Glenn Schoon, do solemnly and sincerely swear to be true to our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and lawful successors. I will be faithful and obedient to the Master, the Wardens, and the Wardens of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and observe and respect all the lawful commands and laudable acts of the company. I pledge to pay the Worshipful Company's fines and quarterage charges when they are due, as well as all other charges that may be deemed payable by freemen of the company. I will support and attend all meetings and events and gatherings of the company to which I may be summoned, unless prevented by sickness or reasonable cause. I will conduct myself in all matters pertaining to our worshipful company in a manner that will ultimately please the Master and Wardens to summon me at some future date to be admitted to the livery.
Thank you, Glenn. Can I ask you please to hold up your freedom certificate? Glenn Schoon, you are admitted to the freedom of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. Congratulations.
Thank you, Master.
I'm hoping that you might be able to find some space on that wall behind you to place it.
Thank you, Master. And apologies for mispronouncing your surname, Glenn. I do apologise.
No problem.
Could I now call upon Vicky Vidler to come forward and make her freedom declaration, please?
Hi. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great.
Thank you.
I, Vicky Vidler, solemnly and sincerely swear to be true to our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and lawful successors. I will be faithful and obedient to the Master and Wardens of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and observe and respect all the lawful commands and laudable acts of the company. I pledge to pay the Worshipful Company's fines and quarterage charges when they are due, as well as other charges that may be deemed payable by freemen of the company. I will support and attend all meetings and events and gatherings of the company to which I may be summoned, unless prevented by sickness or reasonable cause. I will conduct myself in all matters pertaining to our Worshipful Company in a manner that will ultimately please the Master and Wardens to summon me at some future date to be admitted to the livery.
Vicky, thank you. Can you please hold up your freedom certificate?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Vicky Vidler, you are admitted to the freedom of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. Congratulations.
Thank you, Master.
Thank you.
Thank you, Master. Thank you, Vicky. And our final freeman, or to go forward, member to go forward for freeman. Could I call upon Jeff Waddups, please, to come forward and make his declaration? Thank you.
I, Jeff Waddups, do solemnly and sincerely swear to be true to our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and lawful successors. I'll be faithful and obedient to the Master and Wardens of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and observe and respect all the lawful commands and laudable acts of the company. I pledge to pay the Worshipful Company's fines and quarterage charges when they are due, as well as all other charges that may be deemed payable by freemen of the company. I will support and attend all meetings and events and gatherings of the company to which I may be summoned, unless prevented by sickness or reasonable cause. I will conduct myself in all matters pertaining to our worshipful company in a manner that will ultimately please the Master and Wardens to summon me at some future date to be admitted to the livery.
Thank you, Jeff. Can you please hold up your freedom certificate? Jeff Waddops, you are admitted to the freedom of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. Well done.
Thank you, Master. Thank you, Jeff. Master, all new freemen have now completed their declaration.
Thank you all. I bid you to be good and true freemen of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals. You shall keep to the best of your power all the lawful commands and laudable acts of this Worshipful Company within your charge, and act at all times with that grace and decorum that befits a freeman. I now declare you to be freemen of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and I congratulate you on your progression. I will now draw your further attention to the clerk. Tricia.
Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. The names of those members who have been granted freedom today will be entered in the Freedom Book, in which the names of all freemen are recorded. You will be required to sign the book as soon as this becomes possible. You are now encouraged to proceed to the next stage and seek the freedom of the City of London, which will then allow you to progress to liveryman of the company. Full details of how to apply for City Freedom will be sent to you. Master, this ends the formal proceedings of the freedom ceremonies.
Thank you, Tricia. And thank you and congratulations to everyone today. It's really good to see you all. I do hope you've enjoyed the ceremony, and I do look forward to meeting with you again. I always say this, I hope to see you again very soon. This does end the freedom ceremonies, and we will take a short adjournment, a short court adjournment until 3:30. Into this, welcome to all to the continuation of the court meeting and the virtual ceremony for admitting a freeman in the livery.
Master, Wardens and members of court, today we have the following 3 freemen who wish to be clothed in the livery. Mr. Robert Atkin, MBE, Mr. John Davis, and Mr. Stephen Deaking.
Thank you, Tricia. Is it the wish of the court to recognise these freemen for advancement?
It is.
It is.
Clerk, have the formalities been completed?
Master, those freemen here presented have been sworn into the freedom of this company, have been admitted to the freedom of the City of London, and have paid their livery fines. They now crave leave to be admitted to the livery of this worshipful company. Freeman, I will now call you forward in turn and would ask that when I ask you to come forward, you unmute your device, please. Master, may I present Mr. Robert Atkin, MBE.
Hello, Rob. Can I please ask you to put on your gown, or if possible, have someone help you with that?
Will do.
Thank you. And to pick up your livery certificate if you have it. Wonderful. Robert Atkin, MBE, I clothe you in the livery of this company and admit you as a liveryman of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals.
Thank you, Master. I'm honoured to be clothed in the livery of this worshipful company.
Well done, Rob. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Rob. Thank you. Could I now ask Mr. John Davis to come forward, please? And unmute yourself, John. That's it. Thank you.
Wonderful, John. Thank you. Please put on your gown. And when you're ready, please pick up your livery certificate. They are tricky. We all go through that.
There we go. Excellent.
Thank you, John. John Davies, I clothe you in the livery of this company and admit you as a liveryman of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations.
Thanks, John.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you. And finally, Master, could I please ask Stephen Deakin to come forward?
I come pretty close.
Hello, Stephen. Yes, you preempted us. Thank you very much. Stephen Deakin, I clothe you in the livery of this company and admit you as a liveryman of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals.
Thank you, Master.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Stephen.
I see you're in your gaming chair.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you, Master. Master, the names of the liverymen clothed today will be entered in the livery book in which all liverymen of the company are recorded. You will be required to sign the book as soon as it becomes possible. Master, this ends the formal proceedings of the livery clothing.
Thank you, Tricia. Well, my congratulations to you all. I do hope that you will now all consider further involvement in the company and look at our committees that might benefit from your contribution. I now declare this court meeting closed. Unfortunately, we have no reception, but I hope you have a bottle of something close by, and I will certainly drink to your health immediately after. Wardens, members of the court, sheriffs, liverymen, ladies and gentlemen, may I welcome you all to Common Hall. In particular, I would like to welcome Aldermanic Sheriff Professor Michael Manelli and Sheriff Christopher Hayward, who will be presenting both the annual Security Dog Awards and Sheriff's Award for Bravery. And welcome to Brigadier Vivian Buck, Provost Marshal Army, who will be presenting the Provost Marshal Army Sword to a member of the company. So the first awards of the day are the annual awards for outstanding achievement by security dogs and their handlers. Now, inviting the winners of the dog awards to Common Hall is one of the highlights of our calendar. The dogs are always popular guests, especially when they get excited and don't do exactly what we expect. We were determined that the presentations would go ahead in some form. And as they couldn't come to us, we decided to take the ceremony to them. Or in fact, past Master Don Randall came to the rescue and generously stepped forward to visit the winners at their home bases. Unfortunately, despite best efforts, government announcements stopped the final visit from taking place, but we will announce all the winners today. There are 3 categories, and Court Assistant Michael Thwaites will read the citation for each in turn as they are announced. The first category is the Private Security Award. Michael, would you please read the citation?
Thank you, Master. International Consultants on Targeted Security, known as ICTS, includes a canine security division. Charlotte Smith began her career with them in 2009 as an administrator. She volunteered to work in the kennels, and her enthusiasm was such that she became a dog handler, achieving both a remote explosive scent tracing monitor's license and a qualification in aviation security. She progressed to free-running detection dogs and was promoted to a drug detection dog handler in both passive and proactive disciplines. Having achieved the second highest national level of passive and proactive certification, she was awarded accreditation by the National Police Chiefs Council, enabling her to work alongside the police in schools and the nighttime economy. Working with Thames Valley Police in anti-county lines drugs initiatives, Charlotte, with her detection dogs, Cooper and Freddie, in just 1 week, helped in the arrests of 79 suspects, the recovery of £87,000 in cash, and seizures of quantities of heroin, cocaine, and cannabis. Charlotte and her drugs dogs, Cooper, have helped pioneer ICTS's unique drug detection dogs in education program, alongside the police drugs awareness program, earning her many letters of appreciation. She has been a drug stock coordinator for 3 years and is responsible for the training, supervision, deployment, and client liaison for 13 handlers and 22 detection dogs. She has continued her professional development by becoming both a pyrotechnic detection and a top-level explosive search dog handler, as she moves towards becoming an NASDU authorized instructor. For her outstanding professionalism, dedication to improvements in the use of security and detection dogs in both the private and public sectors, and her pioneering contributions to drug awareness programs, the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals makes its award for the Security Handler and Dog of the Year for 2020 to Charlotte Smith and Cooper and Freddie of ICTS.
Thank you, Michael. The next category is the Law Enforcement Award. Michael, would you read the citation?
Having originally been established in 1980 with just 2 dogs that were trained to detect cannabis at Heathrow Airport, this now vital part of the UK Border Force capability has expanded, and the National Detector Dog Team now comprises 70 dogs and 95 specialist handlers, together with their support and kennel staff. In addition to the detection of Class A drugs, tobacco and cigarettes, firearms and paper currency, the Detector Dog Team has trained dogs to detect product animal origin to help protect our livestock and the human food chain, as well as to help the UK enforce the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. The Detector Dog Team currently works with the Zoological Society of London to totally upgrade its counterpart in Mongolia to detect and prevent wildlife trafficking. This has been so successful that the Border Force is now working with all the enforcement agencies in Mongolia to improve that country's use of detection dogs. In a further sign of the times, and in response to people smuggling, the Detector Dog Team can now detect concealed illegal immigrants. The dogs and handlers of the Dog Detection Team work in a variety of environments and are trained to enable them to work on ships, aircraft, vehicles, and hazardous or confined spaces. All handlers are trained in both sea survival and firearm safety. Each year, the Detector Dog Teams are responsible for recovering tons of Class A drugs and cannabis, millions of pounds of currencies, tons of tobacco, as well as concealed illegal immigrants, firearms, and infected meat. The uniquely wide-ranging challenges of their work means that the Detector Dogs Team has had to develop and perfect its own training, working methods, and standards. Its pioneering professionalism has gained acknowledgement from all over the world. For its pioneering innovations, unique capabilities, and vital contributions to the security and safety of the United Kingdom, the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals makes the Dog Award for Law Enforcement for 2020 to the National Detector Dog Team of the UK Border Force.
Thank you, Michael. And the third category is the Military Award. Michael, please, can we hear the citation?
The Defence Animal Training Regiment is staffed by officers and other ranks from the Royal Army Veterinary Corps, RAF Police, and several other Army regiments. They are responsible for the training of horses, mounted troops, dogs, and dog handlers for Her Majesty's Armed Forces. Within the regiment, the Canine Training Squadron, which consists of 90 personnel, is responsible for all the training of military working dogs and their handlers. Their courses allow handlers to be accredited to the highest level of national vocation qualifications. They also care for the dogs in the regiment's own veterinary hospital and rehabilitation and hydrotherapy centre. The hospital vets are veterans of active service in Iraq and Afghanistan, and their experience and levels of veterinary care for injured and ill dogs is unrivaled. In any 1 year, the squadron trains 250 dog handlers and 140 dogs, and dog handler courses are also run for military personnel of allied nations. With the evolving specialist demands of military working dog deployments, the squadron has a worldwide reputation as the centre of excellence for dog and handler training, including dog husbandry, kennel management, and canine first aid. The instructors are all the best of the best and undergo intensive instructor training, which constantly evolves following the debriefing of handlers returning from active deployment, and by keeping abreast of developments in canine security and detection research. As the British Centre of Excellence for the training of all the military working dogs and their handlers for Her Majesty's Armed Forces, and for their commitment and dedication in continuing its unsurpassed service, the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals makes its Military Dog Award for 2020 to the Canine Training Squadron of the Defence Animal Training Regiment.
Thank you, Michael. And obviously our congratulations to all the dogs and their handlers. They all do a phenomenal job, and I know we're all sorry not to be able to be amongst them this year. Thanks again to Past Master Don Randall and the Dog Awards team for all your efforts and for sharing these great photos. The next item is the City of London Sheriff's Award for Bravery. This award is awarded annually to individuals who, without thought for their own safety, have acted to confront danger to another or to property. The first notion of an award for bravery, especially one that would recognise heroism by members of the public, was first proposed by Past Master Steve Neville in response to the acts of courage displayed in the aftermath of the London bus and tube bombings in 2005. Working with Middle Warden Peter French, later to be Master, the idea became a formal proposal that received the support of Lord Mayor-elect at the time, Sir David Brewer, who, having been advised that the award was in his gift to give, asked that the Sheriff's Award be given to a person who has shown courage and initiative in protecting our people, property or liberty, as per our coat of arms. Now in its 15th year, the Principal Bravery Award remains a prestigious one. The individual is chosen by the Sheriffs of the City of London, receiving a trophy, a framed certificate, a cheque for £2,500, and, by order of the Sheriffs, his or her name permanently inscribed on an honours board and in a book of honour on permanent display at the Central Criminal Court in London, the Old Bailey. Commendation Bravery Awards in the form of a framed certificate are also presented to those whose names appear on the same list as the principal candidate and whose bravery is judged by the sheriffs to be deserving of a commendation. The Principal Award is usually presented by the sheriffs at the annual dinner of our company, which typically takes place in October. Unfortunately, we've been able to dine with our sheriffs since February, and I imagine that by next year we'll owe you both a few dinners and a large supply of wine. And I very much look forward to that. But we are enormously grateful to you both for joining us and presenting this unique and prestigious award. I am delighted to announce that the principal recipient for the Sheriff's Award for Bravery in 2020 is Richard Dimmock. And let me ask Court Assistant Michael Thwaites, please, to read the citation.
On the evening of Saturday, the 3rd of August 2019, police received a report that a male had been stabbed multiple times in the chest at a caravan park on the A64 near Terrington in North Yorkshire. The suspect was still on the scene and being aggressive, but was being detained by a member of the public. Mr. Richard Dimmock was on holiday at the caravan site and had stepped out of his caravan when he heard a commotion. An argument was taking place. Richard went to see what was going on. He saw the suspect stabbing the victim. Without any thought for his own safety, he went straight up to the suspect and grabbed the hand with a knife. The male was very strong and continued to attempt to stab the victim, but Richard eventually managed to bend the male's hand back and push the knife into the ground. Others then came to help him restrain the suspect until police officers arrived. Richard had managed the situation for 12 minutes. The suspect was arrested for attempted murder. Fortunately, the victim recovered from his knife wound injuries. Investigating officers are certain that without Richard's selfless actions, the victim would have been more seriously or even fatally injured. The sheriffs of the City of London have decided that Mr. Richard Dimmock is the very worthy recipient of the 2020 Sheriff's Award for Bravery. And I commend him to you all and ask Richard to hold up his certificate and call upon the sheriffs to say a few words.
Well, if I may, Mr. Dimmock, Richard, if I may, we've never met, and it was a tough award to judge. But can I say, oddly, despite the accent, my parents used to live in Yorkshire, and that section in Terrington is quite near a place I hold dear, Castle Howard. And I can't imagine what it was like on that August evening as dusk is settling around then, that there you are trying to hold somebody down for a quarter of an hour. It's always difficult to talk about bravery because in some ways it's the thing that goes unmentioned. But we were most pleased, and we hope to welcome you at the Old Bailey so you can see the inscription that's there in your place, hopefully for lunch in the new year. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you.
Master, members of the Worshipful Company of Security Professionals, and most importantly, of course, to you, Richard. Warmest congratulations on your award this year, your Sheriff's Award. This being the second year that we as sheriffs have been able to judge this, I've come to realise the exceptional standard of all the nominees and nominations that we receive. But quite honestly, yours was truly outstanding this year and a very, very worthy winner indeed. And your courage and your bravery, frankly, was amazing in the situation you found yourself on that occasion. And I know that both of us as sheriffs are thrilled that you have won this award. And as my brother sheriff says, we very much look forward to welcoming you to the Old Bailey and to seeing your name on the honours board and in the book for posterity. My warmest congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. That would be lovely, yes.
Sheriffs, thank you very much. We now move to the next section of the Sheriff's Award for Bravery, and that's the presentation of commendation certificates. I'll read out the names of those people that have been awarded the commendations. We have a couple of them missing at the moment, so but we can get round that. They are PC Tim Hampton of Police Service Northern Ireland, an Essex Police Sergeant, PC Stuart Oughton of the Metropolitan Police Service, Mr. Luke Blanche and Mr. William Redfern, both of whom are civilians, and finally Mr. Simon Bright of Core Security. Unfortunately, I don't believe we have PC Hampton with us or our Essex Police Sergeant, but we do have PC Oughton, Mr. Luke Blanche, and we also have representing Mr. Simon Bright, attending Mr. Glenn Bowen. So could I please ask the first of the commendation certificate awards to come forward, please? Could I please ask PC Stuart Oughton to come forward, and could I ask Michael Thwaites to please read the citation?
The 8th of August 2019, PC Stuart Oughton was patrolling in a marked police vehicle when he signalled for a van to stop in Leighton High Road. The van failed to stop, and Stuart followed and managed to stop the van a short while later, and he and a colleague went to speak to the driver. The driver pulled a large machete from the cab of his van and attacked Stuart, who sustained wounds to his hands and serious lacerations to his head. While being attacked, Stewart managed to draw his taser to subdue the suspect, and despite his horrific injuries, managed to summon assistance using his radio, and then further subdue the suspect as he attempted to get up off the ground again. Colleagues arrived, arrested the attacker, and administered first aid to Stewart, who by this time had lost a lot of blood. Stewart showed outstanding bravery and courage in the face of an unprovoked, frenzied, and sustained attack with the machete. Despite the severity of his injuries, Stewart managed to prevent potentially serious injuries to both his colleague and to members of the public. Stewart received life-changing injuries, yet has resumed work and is progressing towards returning to full duties. The sheriffs of the City of London have decided that PC Stuart Alton of the Metropolitan Police Service is the very worthy recipient of a 2020 Sheriff's Commendation Award for Bravery, and I commend him to you. And Stuart, would you please hold up your certificate?
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, there we go.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. Could we now move on to Mr. Luke Blanche? Could I ask Luke to come forward, please? Unfortunately, Mr. William Redfern isn't with us this afternoon. Michael, could you please read the citation for Mr. Luke Blanche?
On the 18th of December 2019, Luke Blanche was driving to work and approaching a sharp bend when he noticed car tracks leading to a ditch straight ahead. Having initially passed the scene, he felt uncomfortable, turned around and went back to check. As he climbed down the steep embankment, he saw a car upside down and submerged in deep water. The driver was trapped inside with his seatbelt on and only just managing to keep his face above the water. Luke immediately went to get help from the occupants of a nearby house and rang his partner to call the police and ambulance services before returning to the driver of the submerged car. Luke was unable to smash the windows, but managed to partially prise the car door open and hand the driver a knife to cut his seatbelt. The driver had now been trapped for around 75 minutes, was freezing cold, and unfortunately dropped the knife. The occupants of a nearby house, William Redfern and his mother, came to assist and were joined by a group of builders on their way to work. The builders dug into the embankment, allowing one of the doors to be partially opened. William climbed into the freezing water in an unsuccessful attempt to free the driver, followed by Luke, who did manage to cut the seatbelt and pull the driver from the car, assisted by William and the builders. Both Luke and William put themselves at risk by entering a vehicle submerged in freezing water, their only concern being to save the life of the driver, and they continued to care for him until the emergency services arrived. The sheriffs of the City of London have decided that Luke Blanche and William Redfern are the very worthy recipients of a 2020 Sheriff's Commendation Award for Bravery. As you've heard, unfortunately, William cannot be here today, but I would ask Luke to hold up his certificate, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Can I now call upon Mr. Glenn Bowen to come forward as a representative of Mr. Simon Bright from Core Security? Michael, would you like to read the citation, please?
On Wednesday, the 13th of November 2019, Security Officer Simon Bright was on duty at the WCoSP College in King's Cross. At 3:45 p.m, Simon noticed a group of about 30 students loitering on a first-floor landing, and he went to investigate. The group dispersed. Their focus had been on one student, and in particular, one student in particular, and catching up with him, he realized that this person was from his home country and that he was able to speak to him without anyone else understanding their conversation. The student said that he felt at risk of being attacked, and Simon escorted him safeguarding team for his protection. Later, at about 4:20, Simon was escorting 2 female students from the building as they were concerned about the earlier incident. As he was walking with them to King's Cross tube station, they had to take an alternative route to avoid a large group who had gathered in the street. Approaching a fast food outlet, Simon saw a male in a grey hoodie stabbing another male with a large knife. Simon took photographs of the assailant on his phone and then went to help the victim, but he had made off. Following a blood trail to a nearby underpass, he located the victim, who turned out to be the student he had helped earlier. The student was bleeding profusely, but was reluctant to accept help. When Simon pointed out the severity of his injuries, he allowed Simon to remove his jacket, which revealed serious wounds to his underarm and a stab wound to his back. Simon used his uniform shirt to apply direct pressure to those wounds until the emergency services arrived. Simon's professional response to a serious stabbing incident safeguarded the victim and ensured that he received prompt medical assistance to life-threatening injuries. The sheriffs of the City of London have decided that Security Officer Simon Bright is the very worthy recipient of the 2020 Sheriff's Commendation Award for Bravery, and I commend him to you all. And ask that Glenn hold up the certificate, please.
Unfortunately, our wonderful Royal Mail was not able to deliver the certificate in time, but Glenn has assured me that once it does arrive, he will make sure that they have a suitable presentation for Mr. Bright. So, but thank you very much, Glenn, for being with us today. That's very thoughtful.
Thank you. So,
Master, I see that we now have PC Tim Hampton has joined us. So if we could go back to the citation for PC Tim Hampton from Police Service Northern Ireland, please. Michael, could you read the citation?
on the 10th of December 2019, Constable Hampton was asked to attend a report of a bipolar suicidal lady who was standing at the end of a jetty and threatening to throw herself water below. On arrival, he found her desperate. Members of her family were present and were trying to persuade her not to take her life. As the family and Constable Hampton attempted to reason with her, she suddenly jumped into the water. Constable Hampton, not thinking of his own safety, jumped into the water to help her. He then realised that she had a large knife, which she used to stop him getting close enough to help her. In spite of the danger he was in, Constable Hampton remained calm and professional and tried to persuade her to hand over the knife. She refused and held the knife to her throat. The lady struggled to swim in the freezing water and to hold the knife at the same time. She became distracted, and Constable Hampton took advantage of this to get behind her and raise her arms in a desperate effort to remove the knife from her grasp. He was relieved to find that she had dropped the knife, but then she struggled, and he struggled to keep both himself and the lady afloat. Constable Hampton managed to help her to swim to the jetty, where waiting family members dragged her to safety. There is little doubt that because of his swift, calm and professional actions of Constable Hampton, the lady's life was saved. The sheriffs of the City of London have decided that Constable Hampton of the Police Service of Northern Ireland is the very worthy recipient of a 2020 Sheriff's Commendation Award for Bravery. I commend him to you all. And could I ask you please to hold up your certificate?
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Michael. Could I call upon the sheriffs to say a few words, please, about the commendations that have just been awarded?
Well, if I may, just briefly, it's always difficult to talk about bravery. I mean, Omar Bradley, that famous general in World War II, said bravery is the capacity to perform properly, even when you're scared half to death. And I think what Omar didn't say is bravery doesn't come overnight. It's a virtue that you obtain by leading a virtuous life. And none of you put yourselves forward for this award. You didn't put yourselves in those situations, nor did you fill in an application form. We are just here, frankly, to recognize and commemorate the fact that there are fellow people, fellow members of mankind, who've got the guts to react well in those situations, and we admire you for it. And my brother Sheriff, I know, will say a few more words, but we both look forward to welcoming you and meeting you in person when it's possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Sheriff. To all of you who have received commendations this evening, listening once again to your citations that we read, of course, very carefully, just reminded me of the sheer humility and the moving nature of each of those stories, each intensely personal, each one, frankly, again demonstrating huge personal bravery, huge personal courage, and huge risk. And for that, we can only say, as sheriffs, thank you for what you did for mankind. Thank you for what you did for your fellow citizens. You are such worthy recipients of these commendations. We hope you will treasure them, and we very much look forward to meeting you in person as soon as circumstances allow. Congratulations to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Sheriffs. May I also add my congratulations to Richard Dimmock, the principal recipient, and all those commended for the Sheriff's Award. I read each citation wondering how many would have the courage to act as you did, and hoping that I never have to make that choice. My thanks to Sheriffs Michael and Chris. As ever, your participation of the past 2 years is encouraging and incredible, and your involvement is amazing for making the selection. So thank you both. I know you're both incredibly busy, but we really do value your support and your participation.
Thank you, Master.
Thank you, Tricia. Thank you, Michael. We now turn to the final award presentation of Common Hall, the Provost Marshal Army Sword that is presented annually to an individual of our company. I won't say much more about the award as we are joined by Brigadier Vivian Buck, who will do, and who will also announce the name of the winner. But first, let me introduce Brigadier Buck. Brigadier Vivian Buck was commissioned in the Royal Military Police in 1992. As a junior officer, she served in Northern Ireland, Great Britain, Germany, and in Bosnia. Her career then includes a series of promotions and deployments, including Kosovo and Kabul. On her return from Afghanistan, she took command of 1 Regiment Royal Military Police in 2010, where she held the additional appointment of Provost Marshal, Germany. Following this, she returned to Afghanistan as the Chief of Plans for the Afghan National Police Transition Programme. In January of 2013, Brigadier Buck was promoted to Colonel and took up the appointment of Provost Marshal of the Allied Rapid Reaction Corps, NATO's British-led High Readiness Force, where she was not only responsible for providing military police advice in the context of the alliance, but also for the preparation of the Corps headquarters for its evaluation as a Joint Task Force HQ. In 2018, she studied at the NATO Defence College in Rome for 6 months, and having successfully completed the NATO senior course in 2019, she was appointed by Her Majesty the Queen as Provost Marshal Army, a requirement of the Armed Forces Act, assuming that most ancient of offices, together with a command of 1 military police brigade on the 19th of July 2019. Brigadier Buck, we are honoured that you are here with us.
Thank you, Master, and good evening, everyone. It's an absolute honour for me to be invited to be part of this virtual award ceremony this evening. By way of introduction of the award, in 2011, as part of the 500th anniversary of the office of Provost Marshal Army, my predecessor at the time, Brigadier Forster Knight, presented the Provost Marshal Army Sword to the Worship Hall Company. It is awarded annually to the individual who, in the eyes of the Master, has done the most to promote and support the work of the company in that year. It is my honour this evening to announce that this year, the Provost Marshal Army's sword is awarded to Michael Thwaites. Congratulations, Michael.
Thank you, Vivienne. I really appreciate you presenting this award. It's really rewarding for me to witness the presentation to Michael. You have stepped forward on so many occasions, not only to provide advice, but to lead, to chair, and to make things happen. So you have my sincere thanks and congratulations. And I'm delighted that you have your certificate. And this sword arrived, wonderful. So you have the miniature sword, and we have a photograph of the actual sword that sits in our vault. I didn't think it was relevant to send that one to you. It might be a little bit big for Royal Mail to handle. Would you like to say a few words, Michael?
If I may, Master. So, Brigadier, Master, Sheriffs, I think there's 4 words I can say: humbled, grateful, emotional, and thrilled. Humbled because I think there are a lot of other people that are worthy of this recognition today, and I know because I voted for someone else. Grateful because it is because of the members of this company that we are able to achieve everything, and I think I'm grateful that I've been highlighted. As I say, a lot of other people could have been. Emotional, well, I'm going to pretend that I'm emotional because of reading out those citations of the heroics of these other guys, because when I read them for the first time, I did become quite emotional. Just how heroic and brave those guys had been, all of them. So I do feel emotional at receiving this, but I'm putting that down to the other. And thrilled, and thank you. That's really all I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you again, Vivienne, for presenting the award. I know you're incredibly busy, and I do hope that we are able to host you at a future company event very soon.
Thank you.
It leaves me then to thank all our guests and members who have joined us today. May I make a special thank you to Frederick Carter, who sits behind the scenes, who has coordinated the visual and virtual presentation today, and who has provided the company with a digital capacity and capability never imagined 8 months ago. My thanks to the many, as Michael said, behind the scenes that volunteer to bring these ceremonies together. It is far easier to invite everyone to a livery hall, and I hope that we will be able to do that very soon, if not only just to stop the amounts of preparation that we have to do for this. I look forward to seeing you all at the virtual Christmas party on the 11th of December. And that completes the award ceremonies and closes Common Hall. And in preparation, may I toast to you all and to your good health. Cheers.
Thank you, Master.
Thank you.